I was so ashamed of being divorced at 30. I don't even know how to process this. I'm still trying to even figure out marriage, and now I have to wrap my head around divorce. And I was so embarrassed, I didn't know how to talk about it.
New country, new marriage, new lifestyle,
New
and then
thing.
first-time mom. Did any sort of postpartum depression, did any of that hit you?
I describe postpartum for me, or postpartum depression, as a grieving.
When you become a mother, everything changes, like your relationship to the world and people just automatically.
Did it change for you guys?
Yes, for me, yeah.
Yes. Like for me, it shifted my priorities.
I was so used to being the one in control. Becoming a mother, I was no longer strong in my strength. I was no longer the breadwinner, because now I have to take care of this little thing on the countryside of Sweden. So I needed to lean on him. And in that process, God was teaching me he is the head. Christ is the head of every man.
Welcome to Mama and Her, the podcast.
A space for mature mothers and women navigating the exciting journey of motherhood after 35.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Shannon.
Your new mom friends inviting you into conversation to help you thrive in your mom era.
We celebrate all the incredible layers that make you, you. Before mom, there was and still is so much more to you.
We're here to remind our community that you are still that girl.
Welcome back to another episode of Mama and Her, the place where motherhood, faith, and community meet. I am Kayla and she is Shannon, and we are so glad that you've decided to join us for another episode and just taking that time for you. So whether you are listening in the car or maybe you are vacuuming right now, maybe you are in your bubble bath. I don't know, but we are just so glad that you have taken time to join us and that you are part of our community. We appreciate it.
Today is a very special episode. Once again, we are welcoming an incredible guest. Maya Washington-Hilding is a mom, a wife, an artist, a creative producer, an author, a certified doula, and a photographer. Maya has dedicated her life to empowering women through faith, creativity, and vulnerability. Beyond holding the most sacred title of mom, Maya is a storyteller and speaker whose raw reflections on motherhood have deeply resonated with women everywhere. She's the author of My Shameless Struggle into Motherhood, a powerful survival guide about her journey in the early stages of motherhood, touching on practical tips, faith, family, and creativity. With an evolving faith at the center of her life, Maya's mission is to empower women to overcome fear through faith and to create shamelessly with God. Maya, welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
No, thank you for joining us. Thank you for saying yes to coming by. We don't always have guests, but when we do, it's always great to share the stage, the platform. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm here for family, visiting, and it's been awesome. It's been a lot.
You're our first international guest. Right? Because I guess, before we dive in, but for, our viewers, you are, like you said, you're visiting the GTA right now, all the way from
Sweden.
Wow.
I know it sounds so wild. Even though I'm born here, I've been living in Sweden for almost 5 years, which sounds scary to say out loud. But I've left Canada like 15 years ago.
Right, because before Sweden, it was the U.S.
The U.S., yeah.
And then,
Right,
yeah.
So,
and we're going to get into all of that. Yeah. So we'll kind of pause that. We'll hold on to that. But before we kind of dive in the first quarter, we always like to do our good, bad, and the ugly, as well as our God wink. So we'll start with you.
Okay.
So tell us, what's some of the good, the bad, maybe ugly about your day, week, or just recently.
Okay, so good. I would say it's so cute. So our daughter speaks Swedish.
Does she?
Yeah. So she's understands English fluently, but she right now is only speaking Swedish.
Okay.
So we were walking from where we're staying, headed towards the Danforth to meet up with with her cousins, my brother, and she's holding me and Max, my husband's hand, and she says out loud, "I am so happy."
Oh.
And she's never said like a full English sentence before. So that was like a very happy moment, just to hear her express herself so positively and in English. Bad. I don't know if I have it kind of ties into the God wink moment. Okay, so on my way here, we realized checking in that she didn't have her ETA, which is you need like a temporary visa to come into this country. I didn't know you needed one. So I have my Canadian passport. She unfortunately doesn't. Max had one from like years ago. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? And Max is freaking out. And I'm like, why? Like we've had like issue after issue. And then my God wink moment is, why am I stressing? Take this to God. So I started praying. I'm like, Lord, I'm tired. Help me out.
Just let my baby in this country.
Yeah. So I just went to prayer, and then I was just at peace. And then it got approved. So we were able, it usually takes 78 hours, they say, up to 78 hours, but it happened within 15 minutes. So
praise God. Wow.
That's absolutely
2 in 1. There you go. What about yourselves?
Yeah, Shan, what about you? Any good, bad?
The good, like seeing your child, something clicking. So for me with Nehemiah, he started JK and he was understanding sight words, being able to read sight words, but never put together like a simple sentence yet. And as a teacher, I wasn't pushing him too much because I don't want him to have any type of anxiety about learning. But like, I would try to read stuff with him. But the other day he brought home like a really simple book that his teacher gave him that had simple sentences, maybe 3 to 4 words. And he picked it up and he was like reading it to his sister.
Wow.
And it was such a beautiful, and I filmed it. Like I was like trying to look, because I try not to film everything, but like I wanted to capture it. And like Naya was sitting there and she was like his student, and it was just really sweet. And so like he's so excited about learning because he now can read stuff, and he's always asking me, what is that? So that was really nice to see him grow and learn. Bad, I was just say when you have like a sick husband or partner, it's like you're taking care of another child, pretty much.
You're really
love you,
outnumbered.
babe, but like it's been So I'm just really tired.
Yes.
And my God wink is, when you're going through stuff and you pray and you're like, reading the word and whatnot, but then when you go to church, or you listen to church online, or whatever you decide to do on that Sunday, and like the sermon is literally speaking to you and you're like, how did you know? So that was for me, like just the past 3 Sundays have just been like, boom, boom. And God's like, I got you. So like, just reminding me, I have to have faith and I have to just trust and let go. So that's the God winks for me.
Nice.
And you?
Let's see. Good. I would definitely say, so Kennedy right now, I'm just amazed, like her vocabulary. I think so, kind of playing onto like even what you guys were saying too, like lately she never ceases to amaze me, like when new words come out of her mouth, I'm like, where did you learn that? Or how did you know to like I don't even know what we were doing, and she was just like, oh my gosh, that was incredible. Who are you? And how do you know these words? So I think it's the cutest thing. And so, we just got, we're just wrapping up a long weekend here. And so we just spent a lot of time together. So I would absolutely say that was a good. And then if I'm being really honest, I would probably say maybe that's also part of my bad.
Right, yeah.
Just because I'm tired. It's long. And I think, as moms, I think we do a lot of things. Like we're in that era where what will be our children's memories is like, that's a lot of intentionality and work on our end, right? Making sure that whether it's traditions, whether it's creating new traditions, making memories, like all of those things, we're intentionally planning and prepping and wanting to make sure they get to do that. But it's also tiring too at the end of the day. So I would say my God wink is that being able to just extend the invitation to 2 separate friends of mine, to say, hey, do you want to come to church? And it's what I'm noticing right now is that I think there's a really big desire of people who want to be invited in or like learn more about God or and where they are in their lives. There's that desire. I think for me, it was just a God wink moment, because I was afraid, because to invite or to ask or something, like you're always putting yourself out there, because then you could possibly get rejected.
Right.
But both said yes, and then both were like, wow, like thank you.
Wow.
I'm so glad
That's awesome.
that I did come out to church and I did get to experience this. So I was just like, man, you're good, God. Like, and so I just pray that, hey, whether it was like the first time or the only time, I just pray a seed was planted.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes.
That's it. So yeah, I would say that's that's my summary. So yeah, before we sort of wrap up this quarter, because I know we're about to just get into like a whole lot of things. I know. So before we even like started filming, Maya, you were kind of saying like, I don't even know what we're about to get into. And I just feel like because like, you know, the three of us, you know, women of faith, you know, grew up here in the GTA. There's a lot of similarities and there's a lot of things that we can talk about. But I know even for our listeners out there too, right? Just there's so many things that I think that you have been unshamelessly sharing on your journey. And so we really want to dive into that, you know, on this episode and talk to us about your journey because you have quite an interesting one.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be fun though.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be mindful of the time here, but we're happy that you're here.
I'm happy to be here.
And yeah, we're really excited to just hear more about what you've been doing, what you've been up to, and what's next for you and your beautiful little family.
Yeah, and I want to know what it's like to live in Sweden.
Yeah.
I want to know all about it.
It's not for the faint of heart.
And it's like, you know, I think you do an excellent job of showcasing like all of it. But yeah, just the idea that to pick up and go from Canada, US, and now planting roots.
Yeah.
In a foreign country,
Yeah.
but it's not even foreign. It's foreign to us, but it's no longer foreign to you.
I'm still adjusting.
Okay, all right. So yeah, we'll break all of that down coming up in the second quarter of Mama and Her. But you are tuning in with us, and we appreciate it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to quarter 2 of Mama and Her. We are joined by the lovely Miss Maya, Shameless Maya.
Yes.
Okay, so before we just jump in, you know, perhaps our viewers are followers, right? They've been watching your journey from day one, and maybe there's some who are just joining in and they're like, who's this Maya girl? But like start from, I guess, really the beginning, right? You are a Scarborough girl, born and raised here in the GTA. You come from a mixed background and you've blossomed into this multifaceted creative.
Yeah.
But yeah, the beginning of it starts in the city.
Yeah. Okay, so it started back in 2012 as a social media experiment on what would happen if I was shameless for a year. And that started in New York. And what took me there was love. I was married, and that brought me to New York, but it was through the heartbreak of divorce that kind of pushed me to my limits of let me explore more of this being shameless, because I was so ashamed of being divorced at 30. Like to go through a divorce in a city, again, not mine, kind of there chasing this thing and being so embarrassed that I'm like, I don't even know how to process this. Like I'm still trying to even figure out marriage, and now I have to wrap my head around divorce. And I was so embarrassed. I didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know anyone else in my age bracket going through that. So really, I just poured myself into my creativity on YouTube of all places. I didn't share that chapter of my life. I was just pouring out like work, pumping out videos. And I took on this challenge just to push myself out of my comfort zone. And in the process of doing that, I encountered God. I picked up the Bible to help me through this divorce. And it was a journey. It took me to LA and then finally Sweden. But it was literally this, Scarborough girl trying to figure herself out in New York and realizing that shame and fear holds us back a lot. But now as a grown woman in her 40s, learning that those do hold you back. You can be shameless in your own strength as much as you think you can, but it's really that relationship with God that's going to take you into the truth of what He desires for your life. Like, otherwise, I'm still online making videos, chasing numbers and dollars, and for what? Yeah.
Did you grow up as a Christian? Was God always in your household?
Yeah, I mean, my mom's Filipino, so by default we're Catholic. So we had that as a foundation Catholic school, but I wouldn't say that was anything beyond practice, like Sunday. And I shouldn't downplay it, actually. I need to correct myself. My mom prayed a lot over me and my brother, but I did not know anything about more than what you learn in maybe Sunday school.
Yeah.
And that was very basic. I didn't view God as or Jesus as a friend or
Confidant.
maybe someone you reach out to when you're struggling, but not to like walk like a human, talk to someone like a friend. So that came about through my divorce in New York. And it's funny that I even chose the name Shameless, because I was reading the Bible at the same time, and Jesus did inspire me, but I feel like it was Jesus and all these other creatives. And what I saw in all of them was there was this, unashamed approach to living life. It's just putting yourself out there, regardless of the consequences. And through the divorce, I came to a bit of a relationship, but it wasn't until motherhood. Because I started to go kind of like similar paths for some other people, lukewarm. And then when I became a mom, I struggled so much that I turned back to God. And this time it was like, you're mine. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. Like God was so colorful, so real.
I can relate to the part about, just processing a divorce in the midst of a separation. I know, unfortunately, that, there's a lot of women out there that are probably going through something similar, right? Being in a situation that you never expected or you weren't planning, right? And then how do you deal with that? How do you ask God, this was not part of the plan. I did not see this being the outcome. We know that things work out, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure now, like you said, you're now a woman in your 40s and you can look back on that chapter of life. But can you share with us what it was like going through it?
It's embarrassing. I think that's the best way to describe it, because you think life is according to this plan. Like you're told consciously or unconsciously that, you achieve this by this age, you achieve that. And so you think marriage is the goal. And so that's what I thought. And I never anticipated divorce. I'm very like loyal, very stubborn. And so when it happened, I just didn't have the language to explain that to my to my family, to my friends. But I don't know anyone on this earth who has it all together. And that's why I think there is freedom in Jesus, because he's the only one. He's the only one that can help you through your brokenness. If you're going through any kind of struggle, heartbreak, trauma, God will help you through that. I just, looking back, my one regret is using him as a spare tire. So reaching out to him when I needed help. And when I was on my own 2 feet, then I'm like, oh, I'm good.
Good. Peace.
I don't need to read I don't need to seek him anymore. And so that I would say is my maybe not regret, but lesson learned, that God can help you in the lows, but he can also rejoice with you in your highs. So if you're going through the struggle, call on God. He's going to help you. But also, I think just as a friend or any kind of relationship, you don't want to be that friend that only hears when you're struggling. You know,
sure.
Those friends.
Yeah, and that's kind of how sometimes, right, it's almost going to him like a genie, or you know, as opposed to, like you said, journeying, walking through life in general. It's not just a get out of jail free card. It's not just a spare tire or I need you to come through. But it's through everything. Through everything. You meant the experiment in and of itself, this idea of essentially pouring yourself, your heart, your wearing it on your sleeve for the whole world, for the internet to see. Especially on YouTube and during a time, like you said, starting in 2012, when now, yes, so many people do it, but you were years ahead of what is now so many people are doing. What was that like, kind of carving your own path?
I think there is a bit of, is there still a stigma around it?
No, I don't think so.
Not as much, maybe?
Not as much.
Or not.
I think it's very normalized now. And I think everyone, even kids have their own YouTube channels and whatnot. But But yeah, I think
that's different though. Like, yeah, okay, but like to
content
pour
creation,
your
like
heart,
basically, yeah, pour your heart. I think there are a set few people that do it still, and I don't think it, in my personal opinion, no. But I know when you started, because I remember first seeing your videos, and I was like, this is so different, and like, because I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
I was I was in university somewhere. I was like late 20s or something, and I've never seen anything like it. What you were doing, and I was intrigued. I was, and
Yeah.
it was very different, and no, I don't remember anyone doing something that you were doing. So
it was definitely the way I approached it was I am a photographer, and then I went to school for theater school, and so I was just like, yes, I guess I shall combine these two and try my hand online from the prompting of a friend who suggested it. But I was critical of this idea of like being online. I'm like, who's on YouTube putting up videos? Like, YouTube is for DIYs, like how to fix plumbing, how to, for me it was like how to fix something, because that's the only time I would be online. But I was more interested in my opinion about it. So I was critical to YouTube, and at the time, Instagram didn't even. Maybe it did come about. It was just starting.
Yeah.
It just opened up from like iPhones to Android. Yeah, that's like just before that. So I do think people had opinions. I had an opinion for sure, but I think because it was so new and you didn't look at it as a job, it was just a place to have fun, and then opportunities came about because of it. It was just very exciting. It was a lot of fun and exciting, and I feel like the internet has had this journey of like excitement of like, what is this unknown? And now I think it's in a place of career, like this is a job, this is a career, like let's focus and take this seriously, which I think works. But I think for people with my personality, we're very like creatives and trying to find the fun in something that is now a career.
but you're doing that. I feel like, right?
I still.
You're balancing the fact that, okay, yes, like being as a creative, and one of the streams of that being a content creator is sharing online, building this online community. But you still find a way to document it authentically. Mm-hmm. And that includes now, like you said, the parts where you've had to lick your wounds online, but then the parts where you've also found joy in real time online. And like that goes from, going through the divorce, but then finding love, and then entering a season of your life in like mature motherhood that maybe you didn't even expect. Like, can you share with us that journey? Like, did you think that it was still possible for you? Or was there a point that you may have lost hope
for motherhood?
Yeah.
I was still trying to process a divorce, and then seeing like even my own upbringing with my mom, being raised by a single mother. So my head wasn't on motherhood so much as it was, is it possible to have a healthy family? So that was my focus. Like, kids to me are a byproduct. I don't want a kid. I kept saying, I don't want children. I want a partner. I want a family. And if a child enters a picture, that's great. But like, first and foremost, I need that solid man in my life. And so when I met Max, who is now my husband, I never yearned to have children, to be honest. So when he entered the picture, and the more I got to know him and see how caring and loving and supportive and all these things, then I was like, I want to give this man, baby. Like, then I will say I went into that headspace. But
would you say it's because he allowed you to dream different dreams and like imagine things, like a life that you at that time didn't see was possible?
For me, I saw that I could still be myself with him. With the other relationships I was in, marriage or otherwise, even dating, I always saw that my strength was an intimidation. So either I had to pull it back, tone it down, or like I just had to compromise myself.
100%.
So when it came to Max, I didn't have that anymore. So I was like, wow, it's possible? Is it? And it was, I approached life with questions. Is it possible? Like, what would happen if I was shameless? So when I met him, that's when I was just like, okay, not so much motherhood, but family is possible with him. And then the motherhood part, people were projecting their
Fears or insecurities
to
on
me.
you.
And I was just like, I'm not even keeping track of this because the women in my family had children later. So my mom had, I guess, like me at 36.
Okay.
My aunts had kids in their 40s. Like, it wasn't so foreign to me. And I was just like, oh, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I was so curious that people were like
so
time's ticking. And I was just like, would you be quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't so much afraid. And then when I would read the Bible, you're seeing these stories of like 90-year-old women. I was
Sarah
like, wait a
and
minute.
Abraham, yeah.
If Sarah can, like have the pharaohs like on her, and she's a 90-year-old woman, and she's like hiding because she's so beautiful at 90, like, I think I have a chance.
Yeah.
I think I have a slight chance.
I think there's
and then,
a chance.
Logic told me I only need like one egg. Because everyone's like, oh, you only have a set amount of eggs.
Yeah, I know, mostly one.
And I'm like, yeah, but how many eggs do you actually need to have one baby? Just, one, right? Okay, so if I just got one good one, then the 99 are fine. Like, just give me
so
one.
Funny. I was
remember.
posting a video about all you need is one.
All you need is one.
Like, you're good. I know.
And so
people
it's this
love to do
fear.
that. The fear. I know.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I don't know. Obviously, people care about you. I think it's a projection thing, but it's like, just, it doesn't help anything. But then, you start to be like, okay, like you hear the TikToking, and then hopefully again you have strong faith, and you understand that God has you have a story, that God's written for you. But how has your faith, brought you to this point of meeting Max? And like, I think maybe some people want to know, like, how did you meet Max? Because
Okay,
did you follow this guy? Like, how did you guys meet? Like, what is?
So actually,
How did you end up in Sweden?
somebody actually pointed out, like, wow, that must have been God, like, divine, because I was living in LA, he was living in London, and we both did a solo trip in Colombia. So we were both on a solo trip, and I was very much on my
Okay, eat, pray, love.
yes, and I was very intentional because I had started dating like with more intention because divorce, I was single forever, and then I started to casually date. I'm like, I don't want to casually date. I'm like, I'm a grown woman. Like, stop being like, have intention and focus. Are you dating because you want to marry, or are you dating to waste your time, girl?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'm dating for marriage. And so I was very intentional. I was reading all the books, and I went on this trip with that in my mind, not thinking like, I'm going to like catch a man, but it was, it was my birthday, actually. It was my birthday weekend. So I've been wanting to do a solo trip forever and never got around to doing it. At the time, I was in LA, and the culture of social media was like brand travel. So you're always on a flight somewhere with a group of influencers promoting something.
Yeah.
So
This was just you.
yeah, this was like, I am taking money out of my own pocket, booking this, doing that. And so I met Max on this trip, and I was so unarmed because he was 12 years younger. And he is.
Okay, girl.
He's 12 years younger than me. And to be quite honest, I've never dated a white guy. So here's this.
Girl, Maya, we have so much in
we
common,
have-
because the idea of dating outside of your race and younger scares the bejeebies out of me.
So that's why I didn't go into it thinking like, oh, me and this guy are dating.
Okay,
Like, when on those apps, like you're going in with this mindset of dating.
Yep.
So when I met him and we were talking, I'm just like, oh, two theater students, like past theater students, just talking and having fun. Because I have friends that look many different shades, and so I did not feel intimidated by him at all. And so he got me when my guard was down. Like, we're just like having fun.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then when I went back to LA, I was like, oh, what a great guy that I met. Like, what an awesome friend. Because he reminded me of like my theater school friends.
Oh.
And he just kept calling.
Okay, he
And I
found
was
his
like,
wife.
You
He found
friend
his wife.
zoned him, and mentally you're like,
Mentally.
he is the greatest male friend
Yeah.
I've ever stumbled upon.
Yeah.
And he's over here like, I done found my wife.
Yeah.
No, I think the same thing.
Oh.
You know what? We have to ask him because, but I think he was like, she is way out of my league. But he kept reaching out to me. And I remember like, he called me once. He's like, I didn't know you lived in like a huge home. He's like, let me see your home. And he like FaceTimed me. And I was just like, this is so interesting, because at the time I was dating a few other guys. Like one, he was like this tall, dark, handsome Christian. The other one was
Not the quotation.
The quotation, because I was like, and then the other one was a Colombian. He was atheist. And then I had this like third option. And I was just like, this is interesting, because I'm with these other guys, and especially the tall, dark, and handsome one. He was Christian, but he was so intimidated by me. Like, he didn't ask questions. He wasn't like, he might have been curious, but he didn't want to like show his cards type of thing. And then Max is like, show me your home.
Show all the cards.
Yeah. He's like, so tell me about how do you get paid? Like, he was just so upfront about his curiosity that I was just answering, and it was like question and answer. So it was just funny that I didn't take him as a prospect. I was looking at these two guys, and then he was like the oddball, and I was like, this is very interesting. Where is this gonna go? And yeah.
When you found out how old he was, like, did you find out right away that
I found out right away.
Oh, okay.
So
my
that's
husband's
why-
younger, but I found out a few, interactions later. But
No, I found it right away.
Okay.
And that's why I was like no.
yeah, I
And
thought
so-
4 years was a lot for me,
Yeah,
but like
I mean,
12.
can you imagine 12?
No.
Like, the amount of mental things I had to get over, because I was just like, when I was 12
he
you were
was-
literally in your mother's womb.
Walk us through, if you don't mind, quickly, like, how did you get over those mental blocks?
because I started to focus on, okay, all of those things aside, like, because when I was dating, what I removed on my like criteria was bald, short, like height. I was like, you have all these limits of like all the things that you will not do, but you've already given a shot to these men who have treated you like crap. And they're like, on resume, they look good. So I was like, clearly you're not a good judge of character, Maya. So you need to eliminate these things that you have and be more open. And so even though I was open, I still had my list of like, like kind, generous, like all of the things. And he literally, I had written this out before I met him. And so when I read my journal, what I wrote, and I'm like, I wrote, one of the exercises I did was like an ideal date. And I started crying because we had done the ideal date in Colombia, which was being in nature, doing something adventurous. Anyways, all the things. And we had done that. And I was just like, oh my goodness, you wrote this. He came in a way you didn't expect. Because I didn't write, has to look like this,
Right.
has to be like, no.
You wrote things that matter,
Yeah.
that truly matter.
That to me truly matter. I know for some people, they couldn't, but what I wrote out, and obviously this list can change at any point, but what I had written down, I had. So now it's just like, okay, it's almost like, I feel bad using this analogy, but are you going to take this fish or are you going to toss it back in the sea? Because there are like loads of people, if you have that scarcity mindset of there's more women than men, it's just like, but again, you only need one man. Right? You don't need 100 of them.
No, but that's also a beautiful testament for you, especially because, like you said, God sent you what you truly wanted and desired.
Yeah.
It just didn't look like how it was going to come. So it's right. It's that whole analogy of like, he's giving you the eggs and the flour and the sugar, but it was up to you to see it for what it was, which is the ingredients to make a beautiful cake.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, but most people would be like, no, I asked for a cake, God, you gave me flour.
Yeah. And then, and then there was the other option, but I was just like, I am not clicking with this guy. Because on resume, he like 6 figures, multiple cars, like he had the looks, had everything. But it was funny because this guy was seeing me on like, kind of like on a detour, because he was on his way to like Vegas with his friends, his boys from London. And he was going to squeeze me in. Meanwhile, there's Max, who was, 12 years my junior, who bought a ticket on a credit card, even though he was working like a summer job as a cleaner to go to school. And I was just like, this is so bizarre. Like I could actually, it wasn't like I was desperate. I was literally comparing the two. And I was just like, this guy has no money, but he's making a way. This guy has money.
And
he's not making a way.
refuses.
He's
Yeah.
just like, oh, I'll see you on the way. So I'm just like, okay. And if I had a fourth option, maybe, but God just gave me, he's like, here are the three. I want you to figure out what it is that you want.
And I think a lot of women, before we make mistakes and learn from our past, that we often go with what society would agree with.
For sure.
What we think looks good on paper, but
Right.
it doesn't align with our heart. But we're hoping that, you
Yeah.
know, we'll
Right.
get there.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so glad there's no way. Cause I was like kikiing with my girlfriend. I was just like, this guy on paper, like my friends would think I'm a fool for not.
What did your girlfriend say, though, when you...
Okay,
told
hold
her?
on, because I have to be the
We're done,
referee.
we're done.
We've been had the buzzer, so we are going to pause. Okay, we're gonna pause, and we are gonna see you back in the third quarter, which you're watching
This is
Mama
what
and Her. All right, welcome back to the third quarter, second half of Mama and Her. We are joined by the amazing Shameless Maya. And so we've been, wasn't really expecting this to turn into like a dating segment, but it's like, sort of where the conversation is going.
Yeah.
But we were sort of mentioning too, because I shared with you,
Yeah.
as someone who is, in the midst of going through something like what you went through
Yeah.
in 2012, right? Going through my own version of separation and divorce right now. I've thought to myself, and I think perhaps maybe if there's women who are listening who are in similar situations going through a divorce that they weren't expecting to go through. I've now had questions where I don't know if, there is someone else out there for me. I don't know if that's what God will have for me. There is a very good chance that maybe it's like your job is to be a good mom to your daughter and to be, a friend and be walk in your purpose, but maybe this is not the end. And so my question for you is like, did that ever cross your mind, or were you like, no, okay, that didn't work out, but I know God has someone out there for me?
I think, well, how long has this process been going on for you out of my
A few years.
few years? So when I went through mine, I was not in the headspace of that at all, like any kind of dating, like serious actually, for like 5 or 6 years?
Yeah.
And then I was just like, okay, Maya, what is it that I was checking in with myself, to be honest. I might have checked in with God, but I was lukewarm. So I was like, where are you at, Maya? Like, do you want to date? Because if you want to date, do you want to get married? Like, what is it that you want? So I was reading the books, and I also started to see a therapist. I was like, do I have daddy issues? Because like, I'm like dating these guys that are like really not good. Like
On paper are, but
on paper, but I'm like, this is not it. So I went through that. And when I was getting clear on that and, some time had passed, I'm also no longer, because when I was living in New York, I was living in the projects, married to, he started out great. And then it was just like downhill. So I am not the person who started dating lukewarm. I would say you're not lukewarm. So now I would say, seek God first in everything you do, and God will guide you. Because this time with God alone where you're at, He's gonna work through you. And I just sometimes, when you're a mother and married, your calling is to that.
Yeah.
Like my conflict right now is the husband. It says in the Bible, the husband is the head. And I was like, oh my goodness, is he the head? Because I'm out here acting like I'm the head. So again, even that goes counterculture. Like, we have been brought up in a world that tells us that you can be an independent woman, have it all, have the children, the marriage, all the things. And I'm just like, wait a minute, you're not giving us all the facts, because I went through a divorce. I can't speak to you, but I can speak to me. When I look back, I'm like, man, I was out here calling the shots. Like, it was my way. And I was so like used to being the one in control. That's how it started with Max, because I was 12 years older. I'm the one like calling the shots. I'm the one with the money. I'm the one with the experience. And becoming a mother, I was no longer strong in my strength. I was no longer the breadwinner because now I have to take care of this little thing on the countryside of Sweden. So I needed to lean on him. And in that process, God was teaching me, like, he is the head. Christ is the head of every man. He didn't say Christ is the head of Christian men. He said every man. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to learn how to listen. I don't know how to listen. And so I would say a lot of women, myself included, we don't know how to listen to men. We don't even know how to listen to God because it says God is the head of every man. So we're not actually listening to God if we're not even listening to our significant others. So I was just like, man, even up till now, like, it's a constant rewiring, renewing my mind in Christ because I grew up with a fire-blooded Filipino mother.
Yeah.
And I took that into my previous marriage. And if I'm going to prevent those same worldly things coming into this, I have to constantly check myself. And I don't want divorce, but you will not go wrong when you put your faith in the word and him first, and he'll lead you. And the time that you have without a husband is like, it's such a sacred moment. Like sometimes I wish I spent more time with God before motherhood, before becoming a wife. Like I'm just like, I wasted so much time because in the countryside, when I don't have the distractions of the world vibrating, going at this pace, it's almost as if God took me under his wing and was like, let's do this again.
That's so good. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And so he's been shedding all of the onion layers and revealing his heart to me. And it's like, I no longer desire to chase the things that I want. And I'm just like, what is it that you want from me? Because whatever that is, it beats anything that this world has to offer. To the woman who's not married, who's going through a divorce, separation, just putting your faith in him and his word. And even if you're married, man, like then it's like, I want to say marriage is even harder because now you have to, if you are trying to listen to God, it says he is the head. And I'm like, but I want the room like purple, like I wanted this color. And so my husband and I, we bought a new house and the prices in homes in Sweden are very cheap.
Yeah.
It's like a fraction of the cost of a down payment here. And so even in this new home, women tend to be like, I want to do this color here. This is the theme. This is my mood board. And now I'm like, so Max, what color do you like? Oh, what are you thinking about these floors? And he says things that I don't like. And I'm just like, and I'm not saying to women, like, you have to be like a rug to be walked over. Right. But can you at least listen? And so now my challenge in this season is, okay, Max likes green. Make it work. If you think you're so creative, Maya, make the color that you don't like work. So, I don't know if I answered.
No, you did. And it's humbling. And absolutely, like, from speaking from my own experience, I could absolutely, in reflection now, look back and say that there were things that I absolutely take ownership of in the ending of our marriage that, like, yeah, could I have listened more? Was I headstrong? And I think any woman, again, like you said, going through divorce, right? Like, to be, whether it was amicable or someone did something, whatever the reasoning is, I think the humbling part is looking back on what did you do? Like, to have ownership of the parts that you played in something not working out. But to your point now, if there are women who are now in this process that, while it stemmed from something terrible, i.e. a divorce or i.e. a separation, if it brought you back, if it reeled you back into your relationship with Christ, then it is worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I find myself, because I idolized my marriage. I absolutely idolized my marriage, and I put it on a pedestal before God, and that's not the way to do it. So I think even good things can become idols in our lives.
Yes.
Just like how motherhood can become an idol if we let it. Just like how good things that come from God, but if we let it supersede our first love, which should be Him, it still can end up being a bad thing. But
yeah. As you talked about becoming a mom, so you became a mature mom.
Yeah.
At 40, right? Did you have
39,
40?
Yeah, 39.
Saga.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what were some unexpected challenges you had with that? I know you shared on your channel a few things that were really challenging, but
It was really, I want to say the hardest part was being an immigrant, because I became a mother on the countryside. Like, okay, there's already 12-year age gap. Then now I've put myself on the countryside, which is like find any countryside here in Canada and move over there. But then move over there and then all the people around you speak a different language. And the language wasn't even the hardest part, it was the culture. So Swedes, their way of respect culturally is they already social distance before the pandemic. Like they have loads of space in between. They're not like Filipinos hugging, kissing. So when I moved there and became a mother, I felt everyone was arm's length from me. Like there was no hugging. There was no like, oh, like this culture that I'm used to. And I interpreted their coldness for rudeness. And their coldness was respect. They were trying to respect my space. And so it was just too much change too quickly all at once. And I guess it didn't matter what age I became a mother. It was just how challenging it was without community and without support. And I think that's another, God will use everything for good. And so because I didn't have a community to lean on, no family, like my family, his family was very helpful, but they're not my family. Like, I don't know you. I literally just met you. So I was called back to God. Like, I have nothing left to stand on but God. And so, I was like selfishly reading the Bible. Like, I'm like, oh, it worked before, let me do it again. And so I started reading, and this time it was almost like a veil was lifted. Like I had read the Bible cover to cover. That was part of my challenge when I started to be shameless. I was like, I'm going to read this book because, everyone likes to quote it, but I don't actually know. And then I was being cocky. I was like, I want to know what it says so I can be like, oh, I've read the Bible. Like, you can't tell me anything. So this time I read it and I was like, did I read this? And so it's just
fresh eyes.
It was like a humbling like no other. And it's almost like there is scripture. It says, she will be saved during motherhood, childbearing. I don't know if you remember that. There's scripture here. There's a scripture that says like she will be saved in childbearing. You could take that to mean whatever, but to me it read as you will be like your heart, your soul will be sanctified through becoming a mother. And I was just like, yeah, wow.
And so you mentioned like new country, new marriage, new lifestyle, new everything, and then boom, new first-time mom with minimal village. Where did any sort of postpartum depression, anxiety, did any of that hit you?
The way I describe, I don't know what the doctors say because I didn't go to like the typical doctors. I had a home birth. I describe postpartum for me, or postpartum depression, as a grieving. Like you're grieving the loss of your former self. At least for a season. But you're never going to be that person. And it's interesting how when you're not a mom, you're like, what's a big deal? Like, mom this, mom that. But it's just like, you won't know until you go through it. Like, I remember when I was a new mom and I looked back at my old self, I'm like, yo, she had no idea. Maybe some people don't go through that. I find that very hard to believe. But literally, when you become a mother, nothing is the same. I think, if anything, motherhood was the single-handed event to like shift everything and being like, this is why God's design is the design. Like, this is why he designed a husband, a wife, like children. He designed it in this way. And because our world does not operate in that way, motherhood and family becomes so hard. I almost felt like everything is backwards. Like, I feel like I'm in an upside down land. Like, why is it this hard? And then I just started to get angry. So I don't know, is that depression? I don't know.
I mean, a lot of postpartum is different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
It's different. And I think it's not, that's why if I share what my postpartum was in Kayla and you, it won't most likely be the same. But there was a shift in you and a change, right? They say like when you become a mother, everything changes, like your relationship to the world and people just automatically.
Did it change for you guys?
Yes. Yeah. For me, yeah.
Yes. Like for me, it shifted my priorities. So I was super career driven, know what I wanted, X, Y, the works. And I remember as my mat leave was coming to an end, having this moment of like, what am I doing? Yeah, sure. I have this successful career. I'm on TV. I've made it, right, quote unquote. But am I genuinely happy? Am I really happy right now? Am I happy that I'm not able to spend as much time with my daughter now like I want to? And so, it was the birth of like, and that almost like was the trickle where now it really had me reassess everything. Probably wouldn't even be sitting here right now talking to you on this podcast if it wasn't for that. So, yeah.
But you ended up writing a book.
Yes.
My Shameless Struggle into Motherhood.
Yes. Yeah, so the book is the result of, I think, 2 years of struggle. And I was really frustrated, angry, like, how did I not know this? Like, how did I not know this? And I think it is that thing where when you're in it, you're trying to figure it out. And once you get through it, you don't want to look back. You don't want to remember. And for the most part, you probably even don't if you tried to. It's almost like the way it works is survival. Like if you remember the pain, you won't get past it. You won't survive.
Therefore you don't.
Yeah, so you have to forget about it. But I truly wish I was better prepared. And that's why I wrote this book. It was a calling. Actually, God put that on my heart. He's like, because I had no help. I was like, I don't know what I am doing. I have no help around me. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Just think countryside on one hand, forest on the other. And I was just like, I have nothing, God. And he was like, don't worry, you're going to get through this. And once you do, you're going to help other mothers get through it too. So that was why I wrote this book. It was the book that I wish I had before becoming a mother. But now it's just like, okay, let me just put that into writing. And before I used to live for like what would happen if I was shameless, and now I live for what would happen if I just listen and just do what I'm told. Because being obedient to God, because I did life my way, and I don't want to say it didn't work, but okay, now we know where that gets you, Maya. So now let's try it His way and see where that gets you.
Amen.
And now I'm at a point where you could put me in Toronto, anywhere, countryside. I no longer I used to crave for a home. Like, where is my home? And now I'm just like, oh girl, your home ain't anywhere here. Like, you're here for a season and you're going home to Him.
Yeah.
But while you're here, you need to do the work that He put on you. So
having that realization, I imagine, is that why it's been easy for you to almost release, to let go, to be like, sure, okay, yeah, I am. I'm going to leave what I'm so used to and comfortable.
Yes.
I'm going to go into the unknown. I'm going to follow this man, and we're going to build this home and this family in an unknown area. And we're going to do things so unconventional or so against the grain. But that's okay, God. Because as long as I feel aligned and I feel like I know I'm doing what God has called me to do, the rest doesn't matter.
That part. And if He tells me to leave, then I have to leave
so
too. Because I don't, like, to your point, don't make things idols. Like, I can make my country life in Sweden an idol. I can even make motherhood. Because I remember pouring into this book and I was like, what if I'm not a mother anymore? Like, does that, like, God forbid something happens, then who am I? What's my identity? So I also don't want to put my identity in becoming a mother, because I was like becoming a doula, writing a book, doing all these things. And I was like, at any instant, like, something could happen that takes that identity from me. And that's where I'm at a point where I'm just like, I do these things, I embrace them, but my identity isn't that. It is literally, I'm like, whatever you want, like, that's my father. I'm trying to do what my father wants me to do. because I did life my way.
Amen. We named it Mama and Her because we also want women out there to remember, like outside of the role, and while it's a beautiful title that we are like grateful and we are blessed to have as mom, I feel like you sort of answered that question, but then who is Maya outside of motherhood and mom?
Maya is a woman trying to live according to God in a way that is fun, creative, and inspiring. Because I also believe when we try to, I'm listening to God, I'm doing all these things, it can get very serious very quickly. And I'm like, I don't want to be that. Because I still, when I look back at my videos, I'm like, that was a lot of fun. But I'm like, meanwhile, I'm like painting my face like with green makeup and like doing all kinds of weird things to myself. But I'm like, I had fun. So I don't want to lose that fun. I believe God wants us to have a lot of fun. But he has boundaries there for a reason. It's for us to know, like you could break an ankle, you can lose your soul if you get out of this zone. But these are the zones that I gave you. Have fun.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that too.
Well, we're over time again. It's to be expected. But.
I know, to be expected. But we were just having amazing conversation. We're just honestly so grateful that you are sitting down with us and that we're even having this conversation. But we will take a quick break and we will wrap things up in the fourth quarter of this episode. You're watching Mama and Her. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the fourth quarter. We're here sitting with Maya, and just one of her many titles that you've recently added to your resume is that you are a certified doula.
Yes.
How did that happen, and what inspired you to take that on?
That came about because I was struggling, and the assignment is help mothers through this. I was very grateful. I had a postpartum, actually a delivery doula. And it was so necessary, I felt. I was so grateful for her and the birthing team, because I had a home birth that I did have. I just was like, this is not enough. Like, I need someone to be here for like a solid 3 months. So I wanted to become certified to help other mothers, and I had challenges with breastfeeding. Despite being a work from home mother, having 2 capable boobs, it was just like a hot mess. And I learned so much about breastfeeding that I was like, what? Like, what are these complications? Who knew? Who knew you can get all of the things like clogged milk ducts, mastitis.
It's so painful.
It's just ridiculous. I don't know why I had never heard of them. Never heard of any of them. So I became certified, and I had a hard time even wrapping my head around getting certified and even using that as a like a new identity, because it's just so far from what I thought. But what really actually gave me confidence in that, when I was reading the Bible, the New Testament, when I like to look words up in the original Greek or Hebrew, and I came across the word doulo. And I was like, what's that? And it's like servant. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm that. So yeah, I became a certified in that, studying to be lactation consultant. And it's literally just helping women through this chapter. Because, I mean, you started this podcast probably for the same reasons I became certified. It's just like, who threw this ball at me? Why is it curving? So
No, for real. It's actually so true.
You know, you mentioned like, especially in that, I'd say like the first 3 months, how vulnerable a woman is right after giving birth. And, you know, you mentioned like, I wish I had, you probably, right, you want that village. And sometimes I see reels or things on social media of different women's experiences postpartum. And like, not to compare it, but I do think like, wow, I wonder what it would have been like to have, I guess, more of a village surrounding. And I mean, we all kind of can relate. Well, you were in isolation as far as logistically, but then also too coming off of the pandemic as well, like still in the midst of all of these different things and like, right, like even for both of us as well, but just feeling like I kind of missed out. Like what would it have looked like if you were loved on and supported? Like I see videos where people, their friends come, their families come, they cook them things, they clean, they watch
lives with them.
They go sleep. I will watch the baby overnight. All of these different things. It's like, dang.
Did you guys have any?
No,
no one here.
No, my mom passed away when I was pregnant.
Right,
Then it was COVID. I had Neo like when COVID hit. So literally it was
Isolation.
Yeah.
Did you have, I imagine, then postpartum?
Yeah. I was grieving too. It was messy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Was it your mom who passed away during, or was it your
my
dad?
mom, yeah.
Okay.
Her mom passed while she was pregnant with her first son. So she knew that she was about to be a grandma, but then she passed. And then my mom died when I was 3. And then my Lola, my grandmother. She died when I was 13.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So as far as like the nucleus, like, and you didn't really have a relationship with your grandma.
No, she passed away when I was 12. So like, we just on our own little island.
Yeah.
But then because of COVID, family couldn't come over.
Exactly.
Right.
And then with Kennedy, and Naya, they were born later, but still there's little things.
Yeah. And kind of similar to you, like you said, you mentioned like Max's family. So like actually I had at the time, my mother-in-law was living with us.
Okay.
So there was a little bit of help, but right, like to your, it's
just never enough.
But we never came over like to even visit Kayla and the baby for like a month. And normally I would be there.
Why? It was because of the pandemic.
Because it was COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Still COVID was happening-ish. Like here, they were still precautions.
Right. Here it was,
Yeah, because Saga and I were born the same day, but I don't know what was happening in Sweden.
No. I mean,
But you were, It's
Something
just
happened.
different. I feel like we didn't go to mommy and me classes, any of them.
No.
Right, yeah. So I guess support would have looked, I have my mom, and when I think about it, I was like, would you have been okay with her knowing it? Like, because me and my mom butt heads.
Okay.
I don't know. I say to myself, yes, I wish she was there. So it would have looked like all the mothers. Max's sister did stay with us for a week. So that was helpful, but it's just like, I need like 3 months.
Yeah.
So like it would have looked like Max's mom, sister, my mom, all the women, I guess. And then to be fair, I wish Max had more support too, because he had postpartum. Like it was, I could see it.
It happens.
He was like going through it, and I was just like, I saw it and I was like,
You know what? That's actually a really great point, though.
Yeah.
Just the idea that dads also have this change in their life that, and I will say that I don't think is talked about enough.
No.
And like, because it's like, oh, just whatever. Because we're the ones that actually popped it up, but they do.
They went through it.
They go through, especially if they're active.
Yeah,
and
he's
involved.
super active, involved, and very emotional. And so I saw him going through, and I was just like, I don't have time. Like, I can't. Like, I have no energy for you right now.
Yeah, I agree.
So, more support, I think, on all fronts for us as the mothers. And then these fathers, we need more guidance. Like, take us by the hand.
You know, that part where you were just like, why didn't anyone tell me? I think we ask each other, like Shannon and I have said that to each other so many times. And like, I think that question never ends because you go through so many, like you unlock, once you think you get one level of motherhood, like you're like, okay, I think I'm a pro at this now. You just unlock a new level of motherhood and you're just like, what was that? What is this? What is going on?
Yeah, and they never stop changing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm just like...
So and then to your point, you're kind of like, I think at one point I remember asking Shannon, like, why didn't you warn me about whatever? And you were like, man, I tried to.
That's the other point. You try, and then they're just not here for
or
it.
you just don't want to put something on someone that it might not actually happen.
True.
Or it just, or you're talking to someone who's just like
Not here for it.
no, and it's hard, you know.
You almost want to like allow people to go like experience their own journey because like you said, right?
But
like
I'll support you when you're going through it.
Right.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're in it, I'm here. Just call me.
Right.
I'll call you too.
No, breastfeeding for me was horrible with my first. And then I hired a lactation specialist for the second.
Yeah.
That was horrible. And I remember watching your video and I felt the same way. And no one told me.
Who told you blood is supposed to come out of your nipple?
Right?
Not
Or the
supposed to,
lumps
that
and
it
like
could.
all the pain and like you just want, like you're angry at your newborn baby for wanting to feed and you're like wanting to like just get like I was literally on, but I survived. But like
That's sometimes a reason some women.
buzzer beater. We're going to overtime.
acknowledged
Yeah, we are definitely
going
going
into
to
overtime.
overtime.
That is okay.
But that's actually sometimes some of the reasons why women are like, I'm one and done. I'm not going through that again.
Trauma.
I'm not going through
You
it.
know, I said that, and then now that she's 3, and I'm like, they're so cute. Though.
Will you spell the new
I
ones?
literally was like, I don't know. But I'm sure, were you guys one and done, or at the time?
No.
you
I,
were
well,
like-
I was told I could never have any. So I was like, whatever God gives me, I'm happy. No. I would love.
you literally
a
went
football
back to back.
Yeah, I went back to back, but
Oh.
not on purpose. But I would have as many as possible.
Oh, I was like so afraid. I was
Yeah.
stay away
I've
from
heard
me, Max.
that.
I honestly like that's like a I guess a loaded question because for me, if I'm being completely transparent, God knows my heart. I want to have another kid.
Okay,
But
yeah.
to your point, what you said at the beginning of the episode, it's I need to have the right person first.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not going to just have another
Right,
child just to
yeah.
say I have 2 kids.
Right.
So what comes first, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if God wills, like if I meet someone who's my
Yeah.
right partner, then I would love to have another child.
Right.
I would love to have Kennedy for her to have a sibling.
yeah.
But again, it's really much out of my control.
But there are women who I know, friends of mine, who are like, I am not having another.
Even when
like,
their kid is grown.
No,
and
like
everything.
they're good. And that's-
I'm healed now. God took me through the trauma and was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because now I know I'm like, I don't lean on my own strength anymore. I lean on him. So I'm like, Maya cannot do another child. But I see these girls on Instagram like 10 kids deep. And I'm like, how did you do that?
I do want to find out. I don't know.
want
And sometimes
10
with,
kids.
no,
without with
10 is a
minimal
lot,
help.
but it's just
But I'm
it's-
just saying, like, there's no way that's humanly possible. They must be, and for like 9 times out of 10, they're Christian. Like,
You
because there's
tap-
no other
right,
way.
you're right.
You
There's
have
no
to
other
tap
way.
into some form of strength that is
Yeah.
beyond
Yeah.
human
You can't.
capability.
There's
Yeah,
no
I
way.
totally
There's no way you
agree.
could be like, yeah.
no way.
Maybe you could. I don't know.
Oh god. Okay. Well, speaking of Saga and speaking of Max, and you know, a lot of people do follow Max and Maya Living and your YouTube channel and your journey. And so you're obviously in town. You're in Canada
Yeah.
visiting. Obviously, you'd be Zoom calling us right now as opposed to sitting
Yeah,
on our
yeah.
sofa. But what is next for you and the family? Or maybe you don't know. But tell us what do you have planned for 2025?
What's next is Max and Maya Living. We have a YouTube channel, which is our family channel. And despite it being newer, it's more exciting for me to pour into my family. Honestly, because I did the whole career, social like the climbing, all of that stuff. I'm just like, okay, if I can support. So Max is trying to build his career. So he's doing videography, he's traveling. So if I can support him in that, then I'm doing that. I have, I'm still writing, still working on publishing more and doing doula support. But now, because I used to be so tunnel vision with work, if anything tried to interfere like a deadline, I'd be not about it. Now I'm just like, okay, God, I'll take a step back. I'm not going to make this deadline my idol. So my goal is to do what I want to, like do the doula work, do the YouTube channel, and help support Max. Because he's 12 years younger. He got some ways to go. So I'll help him. But it's learning how to be a wife and a mother, which takes a lot more than I thought.
That's good. And that's sometimes a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Even just, but kudos to you, honestly, for like because you've done the work and
I'm still doing the work.
You're doing the work, but you recognize like, okay, I was very much so once this way and I'm naturally wired a certain way.
I am.
And I am making it a point to, and even if it's daily,
it's
rewire,
daily. I'm never
daily surrender, daily, okay, how do I...
Yeah.
And I think that's admirable, honestly.
Yeah, and when I hear you speak, I think of like spiritual maturity, like just hearing, because I went through similar. I'm still going through it. Like some days I'm a work in progress, but aren't we all?
Yeah.
But just seeing your spiritual maturity and just as you are growing and then becoming a mom is just really beautiful and is a beautiful testimony that you share, you know, and just seeing how God gave you those gifts early on, like as, you know, a YouTuber, content creator that wasn't putting God first, but like all these gifts are being now used in a way to honor him.
Right, yeah.
And that's just so beautiful.
Trying, Lord.
You are.
full circle.
It's all about trying. Ask for forgiveness.
But that goes back to the point of like, you know, you said you look back at your like you know, your old ways and like you're like, dang, like I had fun. And God's like, yeah, I'm not telling you not to have fun, but it's like, but do it. So like he's still using you, Maya, like how he designed you.
Yeah.
Fun, outgoing, creative, brilliant, right? But just in a different light now. And that's the beautiful thing. Like that's
So
what walking in
beautiful.
purpose is all about.
Yeah. It's hard, but thank you.
It is
and I
hard,
think we're all
yeah.
trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Okay.
All right.
you, ladies.
Second overtime.
I know. Okay, yeah, second OT. But before
We're
we
going to
wrap
get
up,
fined.
that's okay. We don't have a commissioner. It's fine. We usually end off our episode with rapid fire questions.
Okay.
We ask them to all of our guests, and you know everyone gives a different answer, and so we'll just throw them out, and you tell us what's the first thing that come to mind, and then we'll wrap things up.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So motherhood is.
Patience.
What is the best advice about motherhood you have ever been given?
Best advice. I don't know if it was advice, but it's the one that sticks. You didn't just birth your daughter, you birthed yourself.
Ooh, that's a good one. What's the worst advice you've been given?
Worst advice. Oof. I wouldn't say advice, but like people sharing their opinions about my daughter and what would be best for her. You don't know that.
You don't know. I wish my mom told me.
I wish my mom told me everything. I wish my mom told me. I wish my mom was there, is what I wish. Yeah.
And what would you tell your younger self if you could?
I would tell my younger self, God first above all things. Priorities.
Right, save yourself a lot of heartache.
Yes.
Love that. Awesome. Well,
This
Maya,
has just been incredible.
yeah, thank you honestly
you.
so much for just honestly your vulnerability, hearing your story and just sharing it with us and with our community. Where can folks, you know, keep up with you and Max and Saga and just everything you got going on?
Yeah, you could follow us. We're most consistent on YouTube, so Max and Maya Living. And on Instagram, I'm sometimes there at Maya's World. But yeah, those are the most prominent places you'll see me.
Amazing.
Amazing. All right. Well, on
Thank
behalf
you.
of Maya, Shan, myself, we thank you so much for coming along with us on this episode. And yeah, we hope there's a bit of inspiration in there for you. And we just appreciate you joining with us. And again, you can always follow us on our socials as well at Mama and Her Podcast. So until next time, we'll see ya.